Revisiting our Pyment. So, yeah, we made this Pyment, which is a grape mead, okay? We made it using our own grapes. We even added some of our grape leaves to it, and we used D47 yeast. And way back on December 4th, 2019, we tested this, and it came out to 1.000 from an original gravity of 1.100, which meant 14.2% alcohol. We used D47 yeast. Should be done. It was dry. I remember that. We put it under the desk and kind of forgot about it, I'll be honest with you. But I have some ideas on what we could do to this. So I thought, let's taste it and see what we can do. And now, you might notice, this is really, really full. It's really full. Can't even get an auto siphon in there. I don't recommend this method unless you're very, very sure of your pouring technique. You do not want to oxygenate this. However, I have to get some out. So I'm going to do this way. Can you pick up that glass for me, please? Just hold it kind of sideways. See that bubbling? You don't really want that. We're just going to try a little bit of this and see what we need to do to it. It smells pretty footy. I don't mean pretty. I mean like it's footy.
Yeah, it needs some time.
Needs a lot of things.
And I don't mean the herb.
Let's taste it though. Okay, the taste is far superior to the smell. Way better than the smell. It tastes like a dry white wine. Okay? It's even got a nice after. Wow, it's actually not bad.
It tastes exactly like a dry white wine.
Yeah.
Probably because it's a dry white wine.
Technically, yeah. Okay. After our scientific analysis of this wine, mead, whatever you want to call it, what I've decided is it needs some sweetening, and I believe it actually needs a little bit more to it. There's just not enough flavors here, not enough complexity that really interests me. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pour this off. Yes, you heard me say that. I'm going to pour it. I don't normally recommend this, like I said just a few minutes ago, but desperate times, desperate measures, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Many, many, many people, this is how they make their meads and wines. They pour stuff, and it's okay as long as you're careful and you know the risks that you're getting into. So the first thing is you want to do it very, very slowly and carefully. I'm just gonna have you hold it about like that. If you're wondering why I'm doing it, partially because I thought, well, hey, let's just scare the crap out of people. And B, I really can't get my auto siphon in there, so why not just pour it off? There's not a lot of lees in here. This is the conditioning phase already. It's probably still got a little bit of CO2 in it, but maybe not that much because it's been sitting for about 4 months. If you notice the way I'm pouring very carefully, I'm trying to not let it slosh or bubble at all. I know there's people out there losing their minds right now. You know what? It's okay. I know people that can't get auto siphons and things like that watch our show. This is what they do. And you know what? They tell me it doesn't really matter. They don't make vinegar. They don't have problems. But as long as you know the risk and you're willing to take it, you can start going up a little straighter. And there's not much lees in here, and I don't really want to put it all right back in, but I'm going to get some of it because it's still conditioning.
But that's not all going to fit in our next vessel anyway.
Good point.
So you can stop pretty soon because it's starting to come out. Yep.
Alright, so see, there's that much left. What I'll probably do with this is let this sit for a while, and then we'll filter that out and do something else with it. So I'm just going to put this to the side for the moment.
Or we'll let that sit for a while, and I'll just drink it with dinner.
I didn't really want to say that, but that's probably what's going to happen. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is I want to sweeten this a little bit. It was pretty dry. I didn't take a reading on it. Let's take a reading just so that we know what our start point, and then we can find an end point and go from there. By the way, all this stuff was sanitized in
the Red Bucket of Sanitization! likes to start that when I have my hands full.
Yeah, it's a challenge for her.
Because he doesn't appreciate the importance of jazz hands.
You're also to my side, and I'm usually doing other things, so I don't even see it. I don't do it. I don't notice it until I'm editing, and then I go, oh, God, she did jazz hands. Alright, it is floating. And as always, we like to test just to find out where it's at, what it did. 1.000 has not moved. It's been 4 months. This stuff is done, finished, good to go. So I'm just going to pour this back in. I see people freaking out again right there. But you know what? Everything's been cleaned. Don't worry. I'm going to mix this up in a minute. So what I am going to do is tear that out completely. And then we have here Sweet Squeeze Wildflower Honey, which is probably the same stuff that we used when we made this. I know it was Sweet Squeeze Honey. I don't remember which version. Okay? So I am just going to put... a pound would be 35 points. We have a little bit less than a gallon here. I'm going to go with half a pound. That should give us somewhere in the 15 to 20 point range depending on this. Yeah, making it a reasonably sweet mead without overdoing it. Alright, so I got half pound of honey put in here. And what I'm going to do is mix this up real good. Then probably take another reading just to see where it's at so that we know if this does ferment again, even though it really shouldn't. So I'm going to mix this up. Probably take a taste too, just to be sure that we got the sweetness level right. It's kind of like cooking at this point. There's some science involved, but we want to know that we like the way it tastes. Otherwise, what's the point? So, and don't let anybody tell you, oh, that's too sweet or that's too dry. If they're not drinking it, they don't have a say.
Their palate is not your palate and vice versa. We used to pretty much despise any dry wine, but as we've worked more with these and
I'm starting to appreciate red dries.
Tasted more different things and got to experience different things, we've learned that there's a time and place for everything. And for us, the dry wines are great when paired with food because that...
Yeah, because sweet wines can sometimes just be like...
That dry, tannic shock to the system, for me, opens up my palate to be able to experience the subtle nuances that may be in the food.
She says that so nicely. Alright, I think I'm mixed. So before I take a reading, let's take a taste. I have to say that the color surprises me in this. People have said that there's a lot of reasons why it didn't stay red. Yeah, I totally get it. And I'm not really all worried about it. It was just kind of odd that we had the skins and everything in there, but we didn't get the red color. It's still footy, which, you know. Much, much more palatable now. With some age, this would be excellent as it is. All the same flavors. Just, it brought the... I can almost taste a little bit more grape now. Yeah, I can taste a little bit of the grape. Like a white wine grape, you know. The honey didn't add a lot of flavor at this point. It did add the sweetness, though. But wait.
There's more!
I have an idea for this one. We were given a gift by someone a while back.
By Warren T. Bradford III.
See, I wish I had like the third at the end of my name or something. You know, that just sounds cool. Makes you sound like you're...
Important.
Yeah, noble even. He sent us some stuff that he didn't know what to do with. It's rum-soaked wood chips. I guess he works in a home brew shop. And someone gave them to him because they didn't know what to do with them. And he didn't know what to do with them. So he's like, I don't know what to do with them. Let's give them to Brian and Derek. See what they can do with them. So he sent them to us. And you know what? We're going to use some in this. I don't want to use a lot. I do want to weigh them as they go in. So what I'm going to do, scare the bejesus out of everybody yet again, I'm going to pour this into the carboy here. I'm using a wide mouth gallon carboy because I am adding wood chips to it. So
at this point, could we use the auto siphon? Of course we could.
But I'm lazy. And proving a point.
Hopefully not the wrong point.
Hey, if this turns into vinegar, we like vinegar.
Yeah, it'll be a lovely vinegar.
This will make an awesome vinegar. This is for all the people that worry about every little tiny detail in brewing and get so caught up in the minutia that they forget the point. The point is to have fun. If you're not having fun at what you're doing, you should be doing something else. I say that about everything in life, and it's so true in brewing. To a point. I mean, obviously you don't want to throw 20 pounds of honey in there and, go grab a handful of dirt from the backyard. That's not going to do anybody any good. But within reason, you can do almost anything you want. And if somebody ever tells you you're doing it wrong, if you're having fun and it tastes good and you drink it and your family and friends drink it and nobody gets sick and everybody likes it, how wrong can you possibly be? Okay? So, she hands me the scissors. I'm going to put this on the scale, though, because I'm not really sure how much I want to put in. I know I don't want to put all of that in there. That's a lot. I'm thinking just a handful of them.
How much does a handful weigh?
It's a very good question. We're about to find out. You're going to have to reseal these. Put them in something else.
All right.
So, I'm thinking of starting with, I'm thinking a 1/4 pound, but I could be way off. That'd be like 4 ounces. First, they smell awesome.
Oh, yay!
Oh my god. Yeah, this is going to add a really interesting flavor to this. They smell like rum. I mean, they just totally do. Obviously, they're soaked in it, so, shocker, right? You know what? I'm going to do like an ounce. Because I'm afraid that these might overpower this in like a minute, just because they're so strong. That's 1 ounce.
So something interesting that may occur due to the fact that these are rum soaked is dependent on how much rum they soaked and how much rum they release back into the solution. It could change our ABV.
Yeah, it actually could. I do actually at this point want to take a gravity reading though. And I'm not going to stir those in. I just let them fall in. They fell to the bottom. I'm expecting they'll probably float over time though. All right, so 2 reasons why I'm taking a reading. One is I'm curious to see what I've raised it to. So I know next time, hey, you know what? I remember that wine I made, that 1022 was the perfect sweet spot for it. Okay, now I know, raise it to 1022 next time and it might work. Also, I just want to make sure that no more fermentation occurs. All right, so I took a lucky guess as to what I was doing here, and I said 1022 a minute ago. Well, it's 1022.
Okay, for note-taking purposes, we're going to review what we've done. We added how much honey?
Today?
Yes.
1/2 pound, 8 ounces.
And how much rum-soaked oat chips?
4 ounces, or 1/4 pound. No cheese, though. Actually, all the cheese, all the time.
And our new gravity is
1.02. So as we said, lid goes on, airlock goes in, and if you're wondering why I'm still putting this under airlock even though I know it's done, it's to make sure that if there's any off-gassing that it gets out rather than staying in. I also am now going to give this a little swirl just to get any amount of gases, which there was some. See that? This is why I don't mind having that bit of headroom. I knew there was gas in there, and as soon as I agitate that and it starts to come out, I just forced out any oxygen that might have gotten into the brew. Now sure, there might be a tiny, tiny amount that got in when I was doing the pouring and all that kind of thing. But you know what, I'll just shake it some more. I'm not oxygenating at this point, okay? I want to be clear on that. This is actually degassing it. I'm shocked it had this much gas in it after sitting for 4 months, so that tells you a lot about the gas. I didn't taste carbonation when we tasted it, but obviously there's gas in there. It's still forcing its way out. I'm confident at this point that all the oxygen that was in here or got introduced is now gone. So this can go under the desk, sit for 2 weeks. We'll see you then. So in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching, guys, and have a great day.
bye-bye.